This is Green Room Candor, episode 1. New York, is AE comp too high? And we all say yes.
Because Becc says yes. Okay,
Really
AE comps or price tags.
Oh my gosh, you
Why
need
is
to
it so
practice
high?
again. Take another take.
Okay, how much is an AE paid in the US?
I know, I heard everything from 200 to 400,000.
Yeah,
And what's their
450.
bonuses on top of it?
Well, that's all in
That's
OTE.
all in.
OTE?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's high?
I think it's relative. Like, I'm not sure I like this or don't like this question because to me, it's about how much they generate. So I have no idea what companies are saying. This rep is going to be assigned 1 million, 2 million, 5 million. If it's $1 million they're paying 400,000, that's way fucking too high. That only leaves 600,000 for the company, not including the cost of development, the product, if it's SaaS versus service versus, whatever. I don't know. If they're bringing in $5 million, and so that's 9%, and it's a SaaS with multiple years behind it, or it's a product, even then it makes a difference, right? But I have no idea if it's too high or too low. So I don't know how to answer this question without the other side of the equation.
So generally speaking, you're going to see AEs paid anywhere from 150,000. I've seen on the low end up to 450,000. So the question I had is the level of expertise of a seller worth, let's give a minimum or an average of $250,000? Is the expertise that a typical seller possesses?
I think you're asking the wrong question. That's a product. I can't believe I'm about to say this. That's a product-centric question.
No, but you can't scrap the whole session right in the middle of the session.
I'm not scrapping it. You literally are basically discounting my opinion on how this works. So I don't think, is their expertise worth it is the definition. The definition is whatever they bring to the table, deliver an outcome. So I don't care if you're as dumb as a fucking box of rocks. If you turn around and deliver $10 million and $400,000, I'll let you be as dumb as you want all day long. So I'm not discounting the conversation. I actually think I'm framing it slightly different because it comes to, and I think we see this a lot, and then I want you guys to run with it. This comes down to, oh, you don't have the expertise. I'm not hiring you for SaaS. You don't have SaaS expertise. You didn't go to this college. You didn't do this. That's the skill. Fuck it. I don't give a shit where you went to school, how smart you are, how smart you're not. Can you deliver? Now, to your point, when I'm deciding, I may want to know what's your expertise, how do you do it? But once you're on, for whatever reason, if you deliver 10 million against 400,000, you're worth it. So the real question is, how are we defining worth it?
I don't think they're worth it. I don't think the comp's worth it, in my view.
Why?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different data points, but one that rings true in my mind is, didn't you pulled sellers all together and you saw no increase or decrease in conversion, right?
Yeah, for like our self-service product.
So there's a great example of, like, essentially if I paid a team worth of 5 or 6 AEs, that's just, 250,000 times 6 down the drain, and you saw no increase in conversion. As a position, how they, like, what they are doing to buyers today, I don't see the upside in the data at all. I usually see it slowing down the conversation, introduces a level of pressure, and there's no actual, like, they're not uncovering anything for the buyer that the buyer didn't know beforehand. So my view is, not only is the comp too high, I question whether, now, enterprise sellers, like, of course, you're always going to need someone who's going to have to be involved in the multi-thread of a deal, but, like, for the lion's share of, like, SMB, mid-market, especially when you get transactional, like, a lot of these products that I see, the ACV is going to be, or ASP is going to be anywhere from around, like, 5,000 to, like, 25,000. I'm like, do I really need a seller in there, or does this just slow down the whole process, piss the buyer off more, and then you're paying a huge price tag for that to happen? That calculated in with the average churn of a VP of sales is anywhere from 12 months to 17 months on the high end, because what I believe has happened is we kicked predictable revenue into our system, and all of a sudden, because of that, we said, oh, well, we have more pipeline with SDRs right now. So we have to basically make the closers all focus on closing. So to make it worth it from the comp view, like, if I'm going to pay a seller $250,000, $300,000, I've got to choke their quota attainment way high up here. And so it's like, people can't reach this. They can't reach it. So we're just firing all of our AEs, getting in new A's, firing in all of those. And, like, because people can't, like, this metric here is too high, So I feel, because of, introduction of SDR, BDR, like, on and on it goes, the comp of an AE, like, to justify it from an ROI perspective, people are strapping these AEs with quotas that it's like, no one can drag it across the line. Like, put the tactical perspective aside. So I feel like, and it hurts the AEs long term, because you'll see a lot of these account executives or BDRs, period, because they can't hit that. They're like, I'm not a good seller. And it's like, well, tactically, we can all get better. I don't know. That's my take. I'm going to kick it to y'all first.
What do you think the solution is? How do we solve that? If they're getting paid too much.
I like, if I were an account executive and you know, like, I took a step back, like, from the model perspective, I think that if you took it way back down, but you had them self-source, like, if the answer were to be, I'm paid $300,000, but I have a quota that's completely undoable to do it, versus I have, you know, a comp that's $200,000 or $150,000, but I have a quota that's doable, that's, you know, not necessarily quote unquote stressful, that allows me to not get desperate in the sales cycle and push for discounts or like do all this inorganic stuff. Like, it depends on the person you ask, but from the model perspective, I think that you should hike the AE comp down. Like, if you could just fix the industry, I think you should hike the AE comp down. And like, because how they're doing it is they're thinking through, they're like, okay, if this person's paid that much, how many meetings would I need out of this person? I saw this for BDRs all the time. They're like, well, I need 20 and I need 15 from this person. I'm like, but put that aside for a second. Do you think 20 is doable? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, so what are we even talking about then? Like, you know, $250,000, $300,000, $350,000, $450,000. That's a lot of money. Right? So I'm like, you see marketers in Bay Area that are getting paid $80,000, $100,000, something more, like, and their work-life balance, their mental, like, the whole thing is just better. So I think that if you can't do this, because then there's always going to be one asshole company who's like, well, we pay our AEs $250, you know, and then the AEs flock there, and then like we all go round and round. But from a system perspective, I think you need to hike it down and bring down the quota down to a more doable range so everyone's not missing and we're just round and round we go. Shouldn't ask me a question. I've talked this whole time. Larry G, what do y'all think?
I love it.
Not to be honest, I think you both like make good points. Like, I agree with Keenan, like the compensation of a rep is based on how much revenue can he bring. But the thing is, like, because the salary of AEs are competing with other companies, and whenever you want to hire people, you need to also be, you know, on the same page with other companies. But if everyone keeps increasing it, it means that the quota we give to AEs is just like out of reach. So then I agree with you, like the turnover of AEs is huge. You have people usually who don't build any expertise. I agree with Keenan, like I don't care if people have like SaaS experience and all these things. I think you can always learn. And I think like the good thing about sales is if you really want to help people, this is when you learn the fastest and this is when you can level up. But again, like if your compensation, because from my perspective as a CEO, whenever I want to hire like a AE or SDR or whatever,
gotta compete.
It's you gotta compete, but it's always come down to numbers, because like sales is potentially, like I would say, like marketing is different, customer success is different, but sales, it's like the easiest, in my opinion, way to know if someone's like matches their salary. So the pressure that people get is the pressure of their own salary. And often like people would get fired because they just can't match, you know, the quota.
Larry?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Keenan. It really depends.
Yes.
It depends. And I mean, it's an equation, and that equation has been impacted by market factors. I mean, essentially, we're going to pay more, and we're going to get hopefully the best of the best, but that's not even, we're going to get a lot more people, and then we're going to filter out and figure out who's the best of the best because we pay more. I don't think that the answer is to lower salaries, but it's really for folks. Like you said, you're making people earn. They're earning their keep. If you're going to earn $400,000, you better deliver $3 million. I don't have any problem with that equation. But if I'm paying you $400,000 and you're generating $1 million, the example that you gave,
So what do you do when the average seller can only, you know, deliver $1 million?
Stop. Well, I think the first thing is just stop doing. Look, this is why I got out. I say this every week, if not every day. That's why I got out of the rat race. I cannot stand corporate America. Corporate America is a bunch of fucking cowards who are unwilling. And the minute a board member gets on, whether it's private equity, venture capital, the board members get on there, they breathe down your fucking neck. No one's going to need balls to do anything. So when people say, oh, look, out of fairness, I will concede, I don't have to hire 100 reps, okay? And maybe my position will change if I have to hire 100 reps. But when it comes to hiring reps, I won't play that game. There are 14 million salespeople in this country, okay? I can find 7, 9, 12, 15, 30 reps, right, at all different levels who can get the job done and aren't chasing the dollar. So I am not going to convince myself that paying people $400,000, $500,000 is the only way to get reps. If you think money is what drives people to come to work, you got your head up your ass. So first, I'm not playing that game. Secondly, we're salespeople. The whole point is we should be building comp plans that allow them to make a lot of money, right? So, but they have to sell to make that money. So where we have a fairly small base, but we pay a fairly sizable commission. But watch what we do here. Your inbound commission is 1/3 of your outbound commission. You can make a decent living and we'll just feed you leads all day. You want to make the big money? Go out, hunt it, because why? That's our value. If you're going to go and find it, that's not an SDR I have to pay for. That's less marketing I have to pay for. Like, this stuff I don't have to pay for. I'll give you all that money.
Yeah, I think what I wish for the sales industry is a shift in the role and also a shift in the feeling of the comp system. So like when I take a step back and I look at like, you know, IBM was arguably one of the most formative programs that like started sales history in the US, right?
And now we're all eating that still.
Totally. And they viewed, true story, like sales as a like blue collar profession. And they were like, they viewed it almost as the lottery of like, you might be good. And if you're good, it's a way for typically uneducated people to make a lot of money, but it's very rare that you're good. So like the first President's Club, they started at what they called the 100% Club. And this was like, you hit 100% of quota. And there was like an insatiably low amount of people who actually hit the quota. So they flew in presidents and they really invested because it was so rare for someone to hit quota. So it was seen as like a profession of like, hypothetically, maybe, and we're still dealing with that today. Like we're still dealing with that even from the comp perspective. I'm like, that's okay, I guess, but now we've made a pivot where sales is usually going to be like, you know, it's not just like people who want to play the lottery, like it's a full lifetime, you know, profession of like, can we pivot it back into from a comp perspective and also from I think from an expectation perspective, but from a like how they're going about it perspective, can we transition into something that's more helpful and like a comp system that doesn't have so much like emotional weight?
But I think like based on what Keenan said, I think it was really interesting. It's like, what do motivate people to go to work? Like,
Totally.
Is it only the money? And because I believe that some people are motivated like to go to work every single day because of the money and that their only motivation.
I don't want them in my organization.
But the question is, do you want to work with these people? And then this is a question you have to ask yourself as a leader. It's like, who should I hire? And can I even make my compensation system in order to fit the people I want to work with?
And you filter out the ones you don't. Filter them out. Yes.
Because the thing is, like, as you said, like, you don't want to compete. You don't want to compete with people like who are just paying 400K like their AEs. Because the thing is, like, these guys, what they're going to do, and we've seen a lot of a lot of AEs doing that, they go like 6 months there, then they go 6 months to the competitor. Every 6 months, they're getting like a 20% increase, 50% increase in salary. And maybe for them, it's a good thing. And maybe they're going to do that for like a few years. But personally, I wouldn't enjoy working with someone who doesn't have any loyalty, is not passionate about what they're selling. It's like, it's the same, you know, we were having that chat like the other day about, okay, whenever you're selling something, should you like be passionate about what you're doing? Yeah. Some people were saying yes, some people were saying no. But to me, it's like, if you're not passionate about the people you're going to help, don't sell, like don't join that company. Join a project you're passionate about. And when I see those people changing every 6 months, I don't feel the passion.
Yeah.
And they're chasing the dollar. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's going to fall apart.
Yeah. From an industry perspective, the question I want to ask is, what are we solving for? Are we solving to actually serve and solve problems? Or are we solving for maxing out VC, that investment? And that's a vital question, because if that's the case, then I'm looking for that person that wants to come in. They don't care about how they get to it. They just figure out a way. I'm going to figure it the F out on how to maximize my earnings. And I'll be here for 4 months, 6 months, and then I'm on to the next one. I'm not building. You mentioned loyalty. That's a great question right there. Should there be loyalty from our sellers to the organization.
Absolutely.
Should there? And is there loyalty? Does it work both ways?
Glad you said that.
It needs to go both ways,
Okay.
but it needs to go both ways with a sense of reality. Okay? And the sense of reality is this. You don't leave every 6 months for more money. But if an amazing opportunity comes up for you, amazing opportunity, and your current organization can't deliver it for you, you should be able to go and say, look, man, I really want to stay. I love this, but you either too small, what's going on, you can't give me this opportunity. I have another one somewhere, and we'd love to have you. We're right. We can't do it. Go. I got your back. Or the other way around, someone's like, hey, we want this. We want to give you this opportunity. Go for it and move you into it. But it shouldn't be perceived as for life. If I'm in a tough scenario and my company's getting small, I'm going to have to let you go. Right? Like you shouldn't look at it as like a lifetime commitment where you're there forever, but you should look at it as an open commitment where people are having open dialogue. Everybody understands what your career growth is and your career growth is and what yours is. We understand what the company's able to deliver, what the expectations and roles to do that, and everybody does their best to maximize each person's environment. And when it doesn't work, it's okay, and it's not a bad thing. You just move on. So yes, to a point. Loyalty is important, but not blind loyalty on either direction.
Yeah, I agree.
So this was episode 1 of Green Room Candor. Is AE comp too high? And we all say yes. Just kidding.
And I didn't try to hijack the story.